Let me tell you, this is one of my favorites growing up to eat. And I remember my grandma making this, and it's always been a pleasure of just enjoying. All right, for charro beans, very simple ingredients. The first thing that we're gonna need, 2 pounds of cooked pinto beans. This is my last video that I did, so this video actually is gonna be the main star of some of my future recipes. So get that video down and put it in your recipe book. We will need 1 pound of bacon sliced. We will need some chorizo. Now this is kind of like just like the flavoring chorizo. If you could go to like a Mexican butcher, they actually sell like the ground pork chorizo. If you could get your hand on some of that, that'll work, but this will do. We have the bacon, so this is gonna add some nice flavor. So I'm only gonna be using about half of this tube. So for our other ingredients, I have half of an onion chopped, a whole bell pepper chopped, 2 Roma tomatoes diced, about a half of a cup of chopped cilantro, 3 garlic cloves, 2 teaspoons of Mexican oregano. There is different oreganos. There's Mediterranean, I believe there's one more, but make sure that you get a Mexican oregano. You will notice a difference in the flavor. And finally, I have 1 small serrano pepper that this is actually one of the first chiles off of my serrano plant. So we're gonna be adding in a small serrano. Now you can add hot dog to this. Growing up, that was another ingredient on there, but when I was growing up in the 80s, pack of hot dogs, 25 cents, fed a lot of people. So this is what I'm actually adding to it. If I could get some actual sausage to add into this, I would have done that, but this is what I found at my local grocery store. Very simple recipe, so let's get to cooking. All right, so we have our pot here. We're gonna set our temperature to medium heat, and we're gonna let this come to temperature. Now that our pot is heated up, we're gonna add in our bacon. Make sure you spread your bacon around. Now we don't need to add oil. We're gonna get a lot of fat out of this bacon. Let it start releasing some of its juices. This is actually gonna be the longest part of this whole dish. All right, that's nice and spread it out. So we're just gonna let this do its thing. Like I said, this is gonna be the longest part of this whole dish to render out all that fat from that bacon and get it nice and crispy. Okay, so as you can see, the bacon has released a lot of its juices. So we're gonna just let this keep going. This takes about roughly 8 to 10 minutes or so. We're gonna let that water evaporate, and then what you end up with is all the bacon fat. And that's what we're gonna be using to cook up everything in here. Okay, at this state of the bacon, you can see that a lot of that moisture is kind of like already evaporating. And now you're starting to get a lot of the fat from the bacon, frying up our bacon. So we still have a little bit more. There's some big chunks right here of fat that I kind of still want to render down and get this bacon a little bit crispier. But just keep it moving until you get that really, really dark mahogany and this bacon fat tends to render out. That's where we'll start adding in all our other ingredients. Okay, so our bacon is looking good. So that's about what we're looking for. We want a nice dark mahogany bacon. As you can see, a lot of that fat's been rendered out. So I'm gonna scoop this out and put it in a bowl with a napkin, and then we'll start sauteing our other ingredients. Okay, so I'm gonna be removing some of this bacon fat. We don't need all of it. As you can see, that's a lot of fat. And I actually saved my bacon fat, so I have a little cup here that I'm gonna be putting this in. Now that we have some of that bacon fat taken out, we're gonna be adding in our onion, cilantro, tomatoes, and bell pepper. Garlic. Add in our serrano pepper. Now we're gonna be adding in our oregano, and when you do this, you wanna just crush the leaves. These are whole leaves. If you could get ground oregano, that works out perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and give this a mix. Now we wanna make sure that we clean up all the bottom. That's some good flavor there. Now that we added some water to the mixture, we'll be able to clean that up. Use the water from the tomato and the onions and the bell peppers. And just scrape all this stuff on the bottom. We're gonna deglaze the pan. Now, I'm not probably gonna be adding any salt to this because since we already added bacon, I don't think we're gonna need salt. That bacon fat still has a lot of that sodium. So, I don't know, we'll just check it at the end, but I doubt we're gonna need any salt. But as always, salt to your preference. All right, now that you can see that it's coming up to temperature really good, we're just gonna cook these onions and stuff, at least until those onions are translucent. Now that our little mixture here is all sauteed, we're gonna be adding in that half a tube of chorizo. Now, like I said, if you could get some sausage, that'd be perfect on this. Now we'll just break this down and let it get mixed in with our little mixture here. There might be some little pieces of meat, but it's probably mostly just fat and spices. That's all I use this type of chorizo for, but if I can go to maybe one of my favorite Mexican grocery stores like Cardenas, they actually sell the chorizo as sausage, so keep that in mind. If you see it, grab you up some and give it a try. But these ones in the tube, that's pretty much what you get out of them. It's mostly just fat and spices. This one's the premium one. It looks like it's a little bit more chunkier than the other tube, the regular tube. That one literally is just fat and spices, but this looks like it has little chunks of meat in it. I'll probably start getting this one from now on. This is the first time you've seen that kind. All right, now that we have our chorizo all incorporated into our onion, bell pepper, and tomato mixture, we'll add in our beans. Now adding in the beans is gonna shock our temperature. I did have these in the fridge, but they've been sitting out at the counter for quite some time. Just going to give this a mix. I'm gonna just let this come back to temperature. So we need just a little bit more juice in this, so I'm just gonna add 1 cup of chicken broth. You can add water, or you can add some more juice from your beans. This is kind of soupy, but it's still kind of thick at the same time. But it's looking good. Yeah, that's what it needed. It just needed 1 more cup of liquid. All right, so I'm gonna just let this come to temperature, add in our bacon, and we're pretty much done at this point. Just check for seasoning if you need a little bit more salt. Right now would be a good time to check to see if you need more salt in it, but let's get that bacon in there before. That way you can determine the right amount of salt that you add into this. All right, now that our beans have come back up to temperature, they're looking really good. They got a nice color, just the right amount of juice in there. It's gonna be some fantastic stuff. Add in all our crispy bacon bits that we just fried up. And right now, pretty much our dish is done. So all we have to really do is just check for seasoning. Let some of that bacon get some of the juices of all these just fantastic flavors that we got going on. Just get a little bit and put in a little cup. We'll just check for seasoning. Okay, so it does just need a little bit of salt. We're like right there. We only just need probably just a couple pinches. I think that's all I'm doing to this. But like I said, season with salt to your taste, but we do have a lot of sodium that's coming from that bacon. And I don't know really, this is my first time using that chorizo, so you know, it was seasoned, but just needed just a tad bit more just to take it to the top. So, all right, the first thing I like to do is heat up a flour tortilla. My grandma used to make fresh flour tortillas when I was a little kid. Just roll it up. First thing we're gonna do is get some of this broth, this juice. Just soak up that tortilla with it. Cheers, y'all. That's money right there. That is money. A real hearty dish right here. You could smash this. The leftovers of this is just phenomenal, and like burritos and stuff like that. You got all those bold flavors. This is some good stuff right here. Cheers, y'all. If you're new to my channel, consider hitting the subscribe button. That way you see future videos just like this. Now I have these recipes. They're really good. You should try them out. Now y'all be beautiful and take care.